Are the Georgia State Panthers for real? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we'll preview the rest of week 4 coming up here, but we got Georgia State taking down Coastal Carolina. I had not realized that the home team had never won this matchup. Georgia State rather easily, 30-17 over Coastal Carolina. The only other time I'd seen Coastal was the fourth quarter against UCLA, and they didn't look that good then either. It could be a long season for Coastal Carolina. They did go up and down the field and get a bunch of yardage, but a bunch of empty yardage. They missed a couple of field goals. They had more yardage, 138 yards, in the third quarter than they did in the first half, 131. They very easily could have gotten back in this ball game. The closest they were in the ball game, to be honest with you, was 0-0, because then it got to be 7-3, and they never got any closer. Fell behind 17-7, got it to 17-3 actually. Then they got it to 17-10 to begin the second half. They held Georgia State to a field goal, so it's 20-10. Then they're marching down the field. They got an illegal man downfield. They're, again, overthinking it. They are just running it straight up the gut. As Dan Mullen is telling us, just a zone blocking and run up the middle. They tried some sneaky play where they tried to get the tight end downfield. They put a tight end, and he's, clamoring for the ball out wide, and they had an illegal man downfield. Penalty, stop the drive. They didn't even get a field goal out of it. Still would have only made it 20-13, and they didn't stop Georgia State anyway. So, and the thing is, as poorly as Coastal played, Georgia State, they got up 17-3, but, they turned the game kind of turned a little bit right at the end of the half. They had a shot. Do I have that score right? Why am I thinking that's not right? Let me see here. Yeah, they had a chance. I guess I said it wrong on Twitter. They had a chance, they being Coastal Carolina, to make it a 14-6 ball game. Instead, they missed a field goal, 51-yarder, and Georgia State got the ball, and they made it a 17-3 ball game. That's kind of where it sort of separated itself. It could have been a one-score game. Now it's a two-score game. Coastal does come out again in the beginning of the second half, marches right down the field, again, just running it right through Georgia State's defense. And Georgia State they only ended up with a field goal because they had a penalty. They got a holding penalty. They were moving right down the field as well, but they got a holding penalty, had to settle for a field goal. But then Coastal Carolina ends up missing another field goal. This one, a rather short one. That would have made it 20-13. Who knows what happens at that point in time, but it was 20-10. The only time Georgia State made a real big mistake was dropping a punt, and Coastal Carolina got a scoop and score to make it a 27-17 ball game. Coastal tried with 7 minutes left, maybe a little early, but with 7 minutes left, tried an onside kick. Georgia State recovered it, went on to score a field goal. Team stats. Now, Coastal, again, went up and down the field. They actually had more yards than Georgia State. 384 to 373. So it's interesting. Georgia State's got a really good defense. They got after Grayson McCall. Let me see if I can find the sacks here. They got Grayson McCall twice. They had 6 tackles for loss. They were really good on the inside, not so much on the outside. They missed a lot of it seemed to me they missed a lot of tackles, or the Coastal Carolina wide receivers made some really good moves to always make the first guy miss. That's not the easiest tackle in the world, but there seemed to be a bunch of missed tackles by Georgia State. Darren Granger, not fantastic for the number one rated quarterback, at least by me, but also in the Sun Belt. 15 to 26, 191 yards. Did not turn the ball over, although he fumbled. I thought he was down. We never got a real good angle. Had a touchdown in the air and then a touchdown on the ground. Ran for 47 yards, 13 attempts. Marcus Carroll Jr., 29 carries, the workhorse, 150 yards, also a touchdown. Again, just a little bit. It felt like the Coastal Carolina defense started, once they fell behind 14-3, started to get some stops and then couldn't. They were just exhausted. And, Grayson McCall, again, these numbers don't look bad, right? 26 of 42, 295 with a touchdown. They had some drops, including Sam Pinckney, the former Georgia State Panther. Only one catch, 7 yards. Obviously, Georgia State wanted to stop him. Actually, that's rushing. What did he have? He had 6 catches. I'm sorry, reading the wrong stats. He had 6 catches, 67 yards, but he had a major drop on 4th and 4 when it was still a ball game in the fourth quarter. So, I don't know. Georgia State looked much better than the stats would indicate, I think. They do run the ball really well, and they stopped. They got on top of Coastal Carolina 17-3 in the first half. Coastal's got some issues, though. They are not the same Coastal Carolina that we have seen for the last 4 years now. All right, they're just different. Jamie Chadwell's in Liberty, and Liberty, hammered Buffalo, who's coming down to play the Cajuns this week. And Coastal Carolina just looks like your normal, everyday college football team. Whereas before, they're running an option, an RPO, and passing the ball, and freeze option, and really, really hard to stop. This was not that hard to stop. All right. Again, I know Coastal Carolina had 400 yards. They got a lot of empty yards there, a lot of empty calories, if you will. They could not finish off the deal. So is Georgia State for real? I think they are. All right. They got, let's quickly go over that. I think they are for real. Who they got coming up here? All right. They get Troy at home. They get Marshall at home. Could they start? The Marshall game is the divisional ball game. Troy, we'll see. They get Western Kentucky. I'm not sure about Troy just yet. Not sure at all. And I like to go with the better quarterback. And the better quarterback in that ball game, well, honestly, the better quarterback in both those ball games is going to be Darren Granger. We'll see. Both those teams rely on their defenses a lot. At the same time, we got one more game to go. Marshall's got Virginia Tech this week, and Cam Fancher's 8-1. It's tough to argue about somebody who's been 8-1. But Darren Granger is probably a little bit better than Cam Fancher just in his second year, and Darren Granger has been playing college football for half a decade. So, they could very well be 6-0 coming into Louisiana. And then they'll have what they consider their rival, Georgia Southern. I think Georgia Southern considers a rival App State, but that doesn't matter. I think Georgia State's for real. It'll be interesting to see what they do the next couple of weeks when it really is all about defense. Darren Granger had stepped up took his game to the next level in the first 3 ball games, and not the most difficult of competition. Did win this ball game. I thought could have played a little bit better. And at the same time, Georgia State was never in danger of losing this football game. They really weren't. From the get-go. They were up 7-3 from the get-go. I don't think, I have to go back and look. Let's do that quickly. I don't think Coastal Carolina, outside of, going for 2, ever had the ball with a chance to take the lead, tie or take the lead after it was 14-3. Yeah, they didn't. No. They made it 7-3. That's as close as they got. And Georgia State then scored a touchdown after that. And they never had the ball again with a chance to tie or take the lead. So I think Georgia State is for real. It's going to, Sean Elliott is fun to watch on the sidelines. He's not boring. That's for sure. He's firing himself up. He's firing the team up. Sometimes you need to have a little bit more restraint. But, hey, get excited, Panther fans. Georgia State is 4-0. I think they are for real. and they will get another test the next couple of weeks. In fact, test for the rest of the season, right? It's all Sun Belt. It's not going to be easy the rest of the way. Not at all. Troy, Marshall, Cajuns, Georgia Southern, James Madison, App State, LSU, and at Old Dominion to finish it up. No, it is not going to be easy the rest of the way. They're certainly going to be tested here in the next couple of weeks. But congratulations to the Panthers. We'll have to wait and see if Coastal Carolina works things out because they have some serious kinks. Excuse me, to do so. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll continue to preview. Well, not continue, but we will preview week 4 of Sun Belt play. Right after this, and let's see if I can do this. After I tell you about LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, let's go over the Sunbelt ball games coming up. We'll do the nationally televised ones to begin with, and then the only other Sunbelt game. You do have Marshall hosting Virginia Tech. This line started out at 7. Anybody getting nervous with this one? Marshall is down to a 4.5-point favorite. I like the Herd at home. I think the Herd are pretty good. They're still working out the kinks offensively. I don't think Virginia Tech is all that great. This game, 11 a.m. on Saturday from Huntington, ESPN2. Game is sold out. It's going to be a sight to be seen. Now, this is a big ball game for Troy. They're taking on Western Kentucky. Austin Reed is really good. All right, most likely will get a shot at the NFL. Could be setting all kinds of records. He replaced Bailey Zappi, who set all kinds of records when he ended up at Western Kentucky. Troy may have gotten some help last week with TJ Jackson stepping back on the field. They held the high-scoring JMU Dukes to 16 points. The problem was they only scored 14. Western Kentucky can score some points. I presume Troy will slow them down a little bit, but we'll see how much. And will Troy be able to put any points on the board against Western Kentucky? I'm going to take Western in this one. I'm going to take Western Kentucky in this one. I'm just not sure Troy is everything is advertised. Haven't seen a lot of them this year, admittedly. Watched a little bit of the JMU game, but there was a lot going on last week. All right. App State out west, going to play Wyoming. The Cowboys, 3-point favorites. CBS Sports Net. Don't mess with the Cowboys. They are tough. They beat Texas Tech 35-33, and they were tied with Texas heading into the fourth quarter, 10 apiece. This is not going to be the easiest game. I am going to stand by the Sunbelt in this one. I think App State's pretty good. They almost beat North Carolina. They were in a little bit of a battle with ECU, but pulled away in the second half. I'm liking App State in this one. They are 2-1. Wyoming is 2-1. Don't sleep on the Cowboys, though. This is going to be a tough ball game for App State. Southern Miss coming off a probably disappointing performance against Tulane. They are 1-2, going up against Arkansas State, who did get a win and scored some touchdowns last week against Stony Brook. Southern Miss is a 6-point favorite heading into this ball game. You can't lose. I'm sorry, I know this is the way this is going to come out. If you're Southern Miss, you can't lose to Arkansas State. You cannot lose to Arkansas State. People in Hattiesburg are disappointed that the stadium didn't sell out last week against Tulane because they didn't play well against Florida State, which isn't really fair. But if you start messing around with Arkansas State, then they're going to give you excuses on why they're not showing up. So you can't lose to Arkansas State. We'll see if the Red Wolves can continue scoring touchdowns as they have before. But remember, Southern Miss's defense is pretty good. They were on the field a lot, and against Tulane, the offense did nothing. They need to figure out what they want to do offensively to get something going. Frank Gore, I think we've seen in a boot last week. We'll see if he is healthy this week against Arkansas State. But Southern Miss has to go into Jonesboro and win that ball game. And I'm a big believer that any win on the road is a big win on the road. Let's see if Southern Miss wins this ball game. That's important for them to do. And then if you're Arkansas State, they're like, well, why can't we win this ball game? They would win 2 in a row if they win this one. So again, if you're Southern Miss, you got to win it. Same thing for Arkansas State. This is, I don't want to say, well, maybe it is a must win for both teams, right? Maybe it is a must win, right? Because we had talked with Will Hall, and I said, you guys may be better, but your schedule is really hard. Well, one of the non-hard games was going to be Arkansas State. You lose to Tulane, okay. You lose to Florida State, all right. Got to beat Arkansas State. Plus, I think Southern Miss is going to be really good next year. But we'll see if Arkansas State is able to hang tight. All right, let us take a timeout. We will do the rest of the ball game: Central Michigan, South Alabama, Buffalo and the Cajuns, Nevada, Texas State, JMU, Utah State, Georgia Southern, Ball State, and Texas A&M Commerce. When we come back, let me tell you about FanDuel. By the way, I did go 2-0. I got talked into, not only did I take Georgia State and the points, I did a little bit on the money line, not a lot when I saw the 0-6 mark for the home team. And so I'm 2-0 this week. A nice little start. To the week. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's continue to preview week number 4 for the Sunbelt. South Alabama coming off a huge win over Oklahoma State. Again, I'd like to be convinced that was a lot of South Alabama because they looked really good. Oklahoma State did not. Now they're getting Central Michigan. Apparently the Chippewas also rotate their quarterbacks. Last week it was supposed to be 3. I'm not sure if the third one ever got in for Oklahoma State, but they definitely did 2, including the coach's son. Central Michigan, though, this is kind of where it started off for the Jaguars last year when they started to think maybe we got something here. And they went into, Central Michigan and beat them. And they're 16.5-point favorites. I think South Alabama wins. I'm not sure about that spread. That's a big spread. That seems to be more about what they did against Oklahoma State than anything else. So we'll see. They played well last week. It seems like recency bias. I'll take South Alabama, probably stay away from the line. I do like the Cajuns with the 10 against Buffalo. Buffalo is 0-3. They struggled defensively. The Cajuns, they've put up no less than 30 points a game so far this year. They've played in 2 of their ball games. They played very good defensively. I think they're only getting better. I look for the Cajuns to cover against Buffalo, a 10-point spread. I also believe Texas State is going to take down Nevada. We've been talking about this in the offseason, when the season began, and now we're talking about it again. Nevada has lost 13 in a row. Their last win was against Texas State. Their losing streak started against Incarnate, where G.J. Kinney was the coach at that point in time, and, of course, now he's coaching the Bobcats. You would think there might be a little bit of a letdown after what they did to Jackson State, but I'm not sure. They're going to show out and show up, and they're going to light up the scoreboard, and G.J. Kinney does not care who he embarrasses. He's going to blow out Nevada. I think he's going to blow out the Wolfpack. That's what I think, and I think it's going to get ugly. I think it's going to be a lot of Texas State. They get Southern Miss next, and then they come to Lafayette to take on the Cajuns. We'll see how good Texas State is over the next couple of weeks. Both of those are road games for the Bobcats. All right, JMU coming off their big win against Troy, going out to see Blake Anderson and Utah State. Utah State, I think I heard on the Twitter Spaces down to their fourth quarterback. This line changed immensely. Usually, one or 2 points change is a big one. This started out, James Madison was favored by 2. I got it now 5.5. So Utah State is way down on the depth chart. I'm still going to take James Madison, although they covered last week, so they're 1-1 for me so far. They did not cover against Virginia. Georgia Southern, it's Ball State, and the 2 games that they've lost is Kentucky and Georgia. All right, they did beat Indiana State, and they put up some points in that ball game. In fact, don't snooze on this. They're only a 6-point favorite. It is a road game. Georgia Southern had issues last year, specifically when they lost to South Alabama, and then on a short week they tried to play the Cajuns, and they just were not into that ball game. It was clear from the get-go. So we're going to say that a lot this year. Hopefully not. We not thinking Georgia Southern's going to lose. Don't lose the same game twice. All right. Put the Wisconsin game behind you. It was a bad ball game in the second half. We're going to put it behind us. Forget about the 14-7 lead. Forget about the 5 interceptions. Forget about the 6 turnovers. Go out and beat Ball State. I'll take Georgia Southern. All right. And then we don't have a line here. It's ODU and Texas A&M Commerce. That line will be out on Saturday. But same for the Monarchs. See if they can bounce back with a win that they should have. All right. Georgia Southern should have covered. Might have been able to beat Wisconsin. ODU should have won the football game. I mean, ODU just handed Wake Forest that football game. And so let's see if they can bounce back in what was a disappointing loss for the Monarchs. I think they will. I think they're going to bounce back. You're going to have to wait until Saturday for that line to come out, or maybe sometime on Friday because it's FBS versus FCS. All right. Want to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt. We continue to grow. Had a bunch of subscriptions this week. We're certainly going to be, we're only need 18 to get to 700. So looking forward to that. And again, the audio downloads are going to be up about, well, we've already matched. We can say this. We've already matched all of the August output here in September. So we got, what do we got? I got 9 days here in September, 8 days, including today, I guess, to build on that. So really appreciate everybody. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, pass it along, and don't forget about the audio portion. Apple Podcasts, if you rate us, if you can leave a review, that helps out in a big way. So appreciate that. And Spotify seems to be very popular as well. Again, I'm Dave Schultz. Enjoy your Sunbelt weekend. Keep it tuned in to Locked On Sunbelt.